Ladies and gentlemen, this is Giving Tuesday. And actually, when some are saying it is a non-Movember Giving Tuesday, that's the thing that is Movember thing. So we're doing the
Yes.
total opposite. This ain't no Movember stuff. I don't need to get in that anyway because I've already got one. But uh, the Ms. Foundation is here, and we're going to talk about Giving Tuesday in the context of the work they do and whether or not there's enough giving on Giving Tuesday or any other Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday when it comes to women's organizations. So here from the longstanding Women's Foundation, the president and CEO of the Ms. Foundation, Teresa Younger. Good to see you.
Good
Welcome
to
to
see you.
Sirius XM.
Thank you.
How
Thank
are
you for
you?
having me. Great, great. It's wonderful to be here.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. So, um, do people contribute to organizations like yours or women's organizations as
So
generously and as often as they should?
they don't. Quite honestly, they don't. So less than 7% of philanthropic dollars in this country go to women and girls. Less than 7%. Of that 7%, the majority of those dollars go to cancer research and education. So
Mm,
the other issues affecting the lives of women, so I don't say women's issues, I say the other issues affecting the lives of women, whether that's education or reproductive justice or childcare,
mhm,
economic justice, transportation, all of those issues are then left in this little pool. And at the
mm,
Ms. Foundation for 45 years, nearly 45 years now, we have been funding women led organizations in this country. About 3 months ago, we decided we were going to be bold and step out and say that we are specifically going to fund women of color led organizations in this country
mhm.
because they have proven time and time again to be what the country needs to follow, and they have the least amount of investment of any other group in the country.
So, women of color led organizations exclusively?
As a centering of what we're going to do. So not the
Wow.
only thing we're going to do,
Okay.
but
Okay.
as a majority, we are going to ask ourselves every step of the way, how is this affecting women and girls of color? How are we amplifying women and girls of color voices? What are we doing to help mobilize more dollars to go to those organizations led by women and girls of color?
Outstanding. Yes. And folks, this is the difference is made when a woman of color is leading an organization like this.
Yeah, the organization's an institution. This is a
Yeah.
legacy. It was
Yeah.
started by Gloria Steinem.
Yes.
And Gloria knew then what we know now. She actually had many women of color who were at the table, but their voices were not put up front. And so after, nearly 45 years, I've been with the foundation for about 4.5 years now. Um, and I'm the second Black woman to lead the Ms. Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, what is the legacy that we're going to leave? And the legacy that I want to leave is that more women and girls of color led organizations in this country will see resources in order to do their work. And by receiving those resources, we will be able to trust that they have the answers to help and heal their communities.
Teresa, do women themselves contribute often enough to organizations like
Yeah,
yours, women
yeah.
themselves?
Women do not. I mean, I
Mhm.
think like at the end of the day, this is, the giving to the Ms. Foundation or the organizations that we support. It's not just about how women give dollars. Women oftentimes are uncomfortable with money, and so they don't necessarily give dollars in the areas that affect them the most. So they should. However, this is about getting towards gender equity.
Right.
This is about creating a greater democracy. This is about building power. And all of us should be invested in that, men and women, people of color and not. All of us need to be invested in what that looks like at the end of the day. So we actually need to get comfortable with money. We
Mhm.
need to understand that you don't have to have millions of dollars to give.
Mhm.
At the Ms. Foundation, we are about building the collective power within the United States,
Mhm.
right? So if that's what it's about, it means if you give five and I give five, 10 goes someplace, right?
Mhm.
If we
Mhm.
sit back and go, our five is not going to matter to anybody,
Mhm.
that's not true.
Mhm.
And so, we have on our wall, our vision statement is that we believe in a safe and just world where power and possibility are not limited by race, gender, class, gender orientation, sexual identity,
Right.
age, or disability. We believe that equity and inclusion are the cornerstones of a true democracy in which every voice is heard.
Yeah. In fairness, speaking of gender equity, when we talk about women, and you mentioned discomfort with money, but women there's still a pay gap.
Yep.
So the ability for women to give, plus the fact, the most recent studies are all showing that many households now, the women are the primary
Right.
breadwinners. So
Right.
when you're trying to make ends meet, these are very women you're trying to help.
Right.
And then it may not be as easy
Right.
to contribute. So
Well, that's why we're talking about collective power, right?
yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, churches survive because somebody is making a commitment to making a contribution, whether they're tithing or whatever they're deciding to do, right?
Yeah.
And in many communities throughout this country, those communities are surviving because somebody is figuring out how to put together 2 nickels and 10 dimes and putting it on the table to make this work. What we are saying to people is find the organizations that align with your values and make a commitment to them. And you don't have to do it just on Giving Tuesday. Do it once a month. Do it $5 a month. And for 12 months, you will have given $60 to an organization, which may mean that they turn their lights on.
Yeah.
Right? And so it is about not worrying that your gift is not big enough, not worrying about that you don't have enough money. If you have $1, give $1, right? If you have $10,000, give $10,000. You should be figuring out who can support the issues and the changes that you want to make in your community. And at the Ms. Foundation, we believe that grassroots movement building is the way to make change happen. It all happens at the dinner table, at the synagogue, at the church, and then at the city council meeting, right? It's happening in all of those places, and you have to decide what those priorities look like. And it just has to be something small. And that's what Giving Tuesday is about, celebrating the fact that we are all philanthropists. We give time, we give our treasure, we give our talents to something. And if it's to our children, then make an extra contribution into your 529 plan.
Yeah.
If it's the community that you are in, if it is about making sure that young women and girls have opportunities, then you can give to a national organization like the Ms. Foundation, which will make grants to grassroots organizations throughout the country. We give to over 60 organizations. That means those organizations are vetted. It means they are small. It means they are doing the work that we know they need to do. And it's not just about giving the service. It's not just about providing the food or the shelter. It's about changing the policies that have been repressive.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do.
It's interesting that Teresa Younger with us folks, you mentioned churches and how they survive. And let's face it, at least in the black church, without black women tithing, there is no black church for 100 years. These churches have been around 100, 150 years.
Yeah.
That's very real. So it's important for people, I think, to do what you say and consider supporting organizations that will help them. And it's a good moment for people to be energized and incentivized to do it, because this is really I can't say this year. When past 2 or 3 years have been years of women, it just keeps going, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, I actually have said I don't want the Year of the Woman.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to declare for me another Year of the Woman.
Okay.
I'd like a lifetime of women, right? I would like a lifetime of us trusting women and trusting black women that actually gets us to the end result. For a very long time, we have had to trust white men and take the solutions that have been given to us because they are telling it to us. Now we have a much more diversified Congress.
Yes.
We will have much more diversified state houses, and hopefully we will see many, many more voices speaking up at city town hall meetings and city council meetings, and all of that will get us to the end result, which is, how do we not make it a something special, but something that's the norm? When women are representing 51% of the population, right? And that their experiences are as diverse as any experience we would give to anybody else. Like, women are not monolithic. And as long as we have one woman here and one woman there, then we go, well, that's women. Right? That's all women. Right? And we know that's not true, that we come with a multitude of experiences and a multitude of opportunities and challenges, and that helps inform us. But when everybody, they say this on the Supreme Court, when everybody went to the same school, you don't have a plethora of experiences.
You don't
And
at
so you
all.
need to have a plethora of experiences.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And to your earlier point about how sometimes we think, well, what I do is not going to make a difference.
Hmm.
But if people don't see the difference, if women don't see the difference they just made
Yeah.
this month, so we can't say that
So
anymore.
I don't think women don't see the differences that they have made. I think women have, for a long time, seen the differences that we have made.
Okay,
I think men have not seen the differences
of
that we
course,
have
of
made.
course,
And I think the media has not seen the differences that we have made.
of
So all of
course.
a sudden, there's this like aha moment, this epiphany that goes on of like, oh, wait, there are women. They're organizing in the suburbs, in the rural communities, in the urban communities. No, actually, we have been doing this. We've been doing this for a very long time. And that is how we have actually built the society that we have.
Hmm.
Now we are saying we are no longer going to just lift you up. We are going to lift ourselves up. And before, it was always about creating a backstop to make sure everybody felt safe and secure. And what we know now, and what I think women have known for a long time, is if we do not push how you define what safety and security looks like, we have what goes on at the border right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
If we can't stand up and say my safety is about how I protect my children,
Yeah,
so do not separate me because my skin
that's
tone
right.
is darker than yours,
Right,
right?
right.
And we actually need to have those conversations, and that's why I say trust women.
Yeah, and
It's
that's
not as
policy too.
it's policy.
Yeah,
It's all said.
and women need to be at the table and the seats of power
Hmm.
to establish that. If
On
women
every level.
and if women are doing that, I don't believe babies are being tear gassed.
Yeah, exactly. There's
I
no
mean,
urgency in
if
that.
women are truly at the helm, that just doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, what we know is, this election cycle was really instrumental, as you know. And it was great to see so many women elected. And it was great to see the diverse number of people that were elected from lifetime experiences. Unfortunately, that diversity was not elected across the aisle.
Right,
And
right,
so we
right.
actually need to have that diversity all over the place so
Hmm.
that we have people we're talking to. Because otherwise, it's really easy to vilify who's on the other side of the aisle and to say their policies don't work, as opposed to being able to be engaged in relationship and conversation and to be able to get to an end solution. And that's really important. And that's why we have to start at the grassroots level. It has to be in the city councils, in the state houses, as well as what's happening in Congress, because we know that states are the level of experimentation. And that's what influences our policy
Yeah, yeah,
when we have people who are in elected office who actually want to listen and see what's going on.
yeah, yeah. Women have the power. 4.5 years
Four and a
with the
half
Ms.
years I've been with the
Foundation.
Ms. Foundation.
What inspired you to go to Ms?
Wow. So I had, so long story short, I'm an Air Force brat. My father served in the military. I grew up in North Dakota and I was a Girl Scout.
Hmm.
And so how you make the world a better place was always something that was instilled in me. And how do you give back to community was
Hmm.
something that was instilled in me. I spent the past 8 years prior to coming to the foundation working in the state of Connecticut, working on women's public policy,
Hmm.
writing the bills around increasing the minimum wage, changing sexual assault policies, looking at consent laws, looking at what was happening with the healthcare system in the state of Connecticut. And I knew that while I loved that work, there were many more voices and really outstanding women across the country that I'd like to work with. And so when this position opened up, and I had had some experiences with Gloria Steinem and with young feminist activists throughout the country, I realized like that was a role that I wanted to step into. And so this legacy organization that's been around so long has been a footprint for us to really change not just what's happening with women and women of color in our communities, but to challenge philanthropy to be able to really commit to what that looks like over
Right,
time.
right, right. And without knowing specifically all of the organizations that you benefit at the Ms. Foundation, I just know that some of them are about the business of raising up this younger generation of
Hmm.
women
Yeah,
to follow in your footsteps
yeah.
and in Gloria Steinem's footsteps and in women in public policy footsteps,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, absolutely. We actually, in changing, in endorsing our strategic plan to center women and girls of color,
Hmm.
we actually carved out a mechanism to have a real conversation about what generational change looks like. What
Hmm.
does it look like to invest in young women and girls of color, and how are we going to do that? So we actually are going to be funding girls color-led organizations throughout this country to do work that actually listens to the solutions these young women and girls have for what this could look like in the long run. You know, I always say, like, what does it look like if we think ahead 2 or 3 generations? Let's respect our indigenous communities and our Native American brothers and sisters
Yeah.
and think about 7 generations ahead, because we know that there were those on the other side of the aisle who negatively strategized what it would look like 7 generations ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what if we actually let this new generation dream for us and we
Yeah.
supported that dreaming?
Yeah.
That could get us to
I
something
like
that's
that.
really amazing, and
Wow.
that could get us to what power and possibility really looks like from a group of young people, and we say, you know, from adolescents on up, who have only had access to the internet, who only know what it's like to have a phone in their hand, who only know the world as connected as the world is, right? They will never know encyclopedias the way you and I did. And so what does it look like when they can be friends with anybody in the world, and when they can get the news at any point in the day, and they can see the injustices and see the amazing work that's going on out there?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about the work that we are going to be doing supporting girls and girls of color-led organizations in this country, and by the work of those who are working with those young women.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite quotes is in life, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah
Uh-huh.
said, "You determine a nation's revolutionary awareness by the political maturity of its women."
Yes. I actually have that in my office. So.
Amen. It's Giving Tuesday, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all got some money? I know you do. One organization we would love for you to consider supporting is the Ms. Foundation. We have been talking for the past 2 or 3 years about the role women are playing in our communities and our society, uplifting women, and some of us men being humble and being willing to be led by women, being willing to support women leadership. It's high time. And as our sister Teresa just said, no more this year, the woman, she says, let's have a lifetime of women. And honestly, some of you, if you look inward and think about how you got over, it's probably because there were a lifetime of women in your life making it happen. As quiet as it's kept, it's already happened. So we want to put that into effect. And the important work that the Ms. Foundation is doing and has always done is so critical. So please, on this Giving Tuesday, consider whatever you have, small or large, giving on this Tuesday to the Ms. Foundation. People can go to the website, right?
They can go to our website. It's For Women, FOR women.org, and they can make a contribution. The donate button is there. By contributing to us, you help fund organizations throughout this country that are led by women and women of color, and that is a wonderful opportunity. You can trust that we are doing it right because we've been doing it for 45 years, and in those 45 years, we have funded over 1,600 organizations. So if you want to have an impact, give to us. Let us help you determine where that money goes. And if you, and it could be $5, it can be $10,000, it can be $100,000. Whatever it is that you can give through us. We'll make sure the money gets put to good use. And it's about solving problems, amplifying voices, and supporting the grassroots.
And folks, 45 years, that's what we mean when we say legacy organization. So that's what the Ms. Foundation is, forwomen.org. You are great.
Thank you.
You bet.
It's wonderful to have you.
Thanks
for having me.
It's good to see Teresa support the Ms. Foundation. Your husband's a listener. Want to shout him?
Yes,
What's his name?
Ron Preston.
Ron, peace, brother. All right. Thank you, man, for sharing her with us and for sharing her with the world, really. Thank you, Teresa Younger. Forwomen.org, Ms. Foundation, folks, on this Giving Tuesday. Thanks.